one thing that I'm learning, so before I was in like doing autism research, I did a lot of research in Indigenous health, specifically around maternal health, and looking at, how do men support women in community? How do healthcare providers support pregnancies in community? And what I'm learning is exactly what you touched on earlier. There are so many parallels, right? There's so many parallels between the way that the state approaches Indigenous people in Canada and the way the state approaches autistic people in Canada. And you're right. If I were to go to an Indigenous health conference, let's say in the 1980s, I would feel othered. I would feel like, this conference isn't for me. All they're doing is talking about everything that's bad in my life when that's not my experience. And I can't imagine today going to an autism conference as an autistic person, because it's the exact same thing. It's like disease, everything that's wrong with you. And it's like, I feel like what I'm going to do is really take those lessons I've learned as an Indigenous health researcher and apply them to autism as well, and try and make those connections so that, the same things aren't happening, and we're not making the same mistakes, and we're not othering, and we're not making people feel uncomfortable in their own skin. Because if you're born a certain way, that's just who you are, and that's totally fine. You don't need to change because the state wants you to change. The state wanted all these children to change in residential schools. And now we want autistic people to conform to meet our kind of expectations. And that to me is a really not a good approach. I always try and tell people acceptance first. That's something we do in our communities. Our community's challenges aren't the acceptance part. They're actually getting the therapies as well as, the different types of supports in place, so our children and our adults can, live healthy lives.